How many times are you pleasuring yourself a week at the moment? And you can be honest, it might be 0, it might be 7, or it might have even been last month the last time you pleasured yourself, and that's okay. There is no magic number. It's whatever works for you and your body. You could be someone that tries to pleasure yourself 7 days a week, but you're not actually feeling anything. And you could also be someone who pleasures yourself 3 times a week and you feel everything. It's the way you actually do it that matters the most. Hi gorgeous, welcome back to the School of Sensuality. On my channel we understand our bodies, we learn about pleasure and periods, build that confidence and actually get you feeling something in your body, not just numbness and disconnection. And today we're talking about self-pleasure, but not just how often. We're going to be talking about how you're doing it. Before we go ahead, I just want to clear one thing up. There is no perfect amount of times in the week that you should be pleasuring yourself. If you've got a busy day, if you've got a busy weekend, if you've got a busy week, you might do it once that week. But in other times when you've got a calmer weekend or a calmer week, you might find yourself pleasuring yourself maybe 5 times and sometimes maybe none. I want you to know that it's more about how you're pleasuring yourself versus how many times a week that you're pleasuring yourself. Because if you're only touching yourself to quickly get off, you're actually missing the whole point of pleasure. So right now, I just want you to remember last week, last month, last year, or maybe you're completely new to this and that's also fine. Welcome here at the School of Sensuality, gorgeous. I want you to notice how many times you do actually pleasure yourself. How many times you're actually pleasuring yourself when you feel something. How many times you're actually pleasuring yourself, touching yourself, popping your finger in there and you don't know what you're doing. So are you actually feeling anything if you don't know what you're doing? And how many times do you wish that you could finger yourself, that you could pleasure yourself, but you don't because you're too embarrassed or you're too scared? And whatever you answer to those questions is completely fine. This is your body, no one else's. This is your body, your rules. Remember that, okay? So when you're pleasuring yourself, are you just going right to that spot, that little light bulb, flicking that, and then getting off and carrying on with your day? Or are you actually having slow, enjoyable, juicy, sexy pleasure with yourself and your whole body? And if you're not, you're in the right place. I see so often you go straight down there to the same spot, same pressure, same rhythm, and try as finish as quickly as possible. This is what a lot of the girls call flicking the bean. And yes, it works, but if that's all you do, your body is only going to know that one type of pleasure. But girls, you have 2. So instead of just flicking the bean, I want you to get curious and be exploring these 2 types of pleasure that I'm going to be telling you now. So you can be going through your week, touching yourself 7 days a week, but are you actually feeling something? And how can you now, as I go along, add in these 2 different types of pleasure because it's really going to help you feel. Here at the School of Sensuality, I want to help you feel, to have bigger orgasms, to build up confidence within your own body so you can feel it all, not like you just only have to flick the bean downstairs. So for our 2 types of pleasure, externally we have the clitoris. This is your external pleasure center. Clitoral stimulation. This is the one most of you already know. It's quicker, more intense, more direct, and there's nothing wrong with it. But it's just one part of your pleasure. This is great when you have limited time, when your mind is racing and you just need to switch off, maybe before bed, or you just really want to feel really good and you just want to use that. That is great. Where in your life, where in your week can you use that type of pleasure? Because we all need that. And then on the other hand, the second type of pleasure is the deep, slow, internal pleasure. This one's my favorite. For internal pleasure, it's a lot slower, deeper, and a lot more connecting to your body. It's a lot more subtle. You feel more rather than rushing. And this is where you start to explore inside of your body. Different pressures, different movements, and so much more curiosity. Internal pleasure is the type of pleasure that grows and expands over time rather than the external fast pleasure, okay? So maybe once a week at least you can play with and have that external type of pleasure on the clitoris. And then maybe once a week, I would love you to explore internal types of pleasure. It's not always about getting there fast. It's about learning what actually really works well for your body. I know before you say the external feels so much better, and it might do, and that's okay. But when you have slow, deep internal pleasure, it's going to make you feel more. You're going to feel so much more aroused. The anticipation is going to be building through your whole body, and you can actually have a full body orgasm from this internal pleasure, not just keeping it downstairs there on the front door. So now I'm going to show you 2 types of external pleasure techniques that you can use and 2 types of internal pleasure techniques that you can use. So here we go. I'm going to come from the position as though you're actually doing this to yourself. We always start with our hand over our little flower and taking 3 long, deep breaths. It's really important not to rush and just allow yourself to gently build the arousal and the anticipation before we enter our finger. So we are now having small circular motions on the clitoral hood. You can see here we're gently applying a little bit of pressure as you're circling your finger over the clitoris and around the clitoral hood. You can alternate directions, so you can go clockwise and anti-clockwise, and I want you to notice what feels best. Maybe today one feels better than the other, and maybe tomorrow it's something different. And then next we have side to side. So as you can see, the speed here is going a little bit faster. You can use different fingers if your fingers get tired, or if you need, you can use 2 fingers together. This is obviously going to add more pressure and more arousal because there is a bit more speed. But it's very important to let yourself alternate between those 2 movements that I've just showed you, because I don't want you to just get used to just the fast speed, because imagine you come into a relationship and your man doesn't know how to go fast, you're going to be a little bit disappointed. So can you promise me that you're going to alternate between both? Before we're going inside, we gently massage our vulva and ask our body, are we ready to go inside? For this first movement, you can enter your finger in directly from above, or if you need to, you can put your wrist to the side. This movement here is like a come here movement, which is gently going to tap the G-spot. The G-spot is located on the inside wall, and with this movement of come here, you will gently be activating your G-spot. You don't need to go too fast or too deep or too much pressure. You just want to be gently warming this part up of your body. And remember, you can always explore different motions of the ocean at each time you're exploring yourself, because this is how we learn. The next movement is circles. So when your finger is inside of you, you are gently doing small circles in either direction, whatever feels comfortable to you, of course. You can see here, I'm not going hell for leather. I'm going gentle and slow, allowing my finger to move around all the walls of the vagina tissue here, noticing what sensations you can feel. And again, I encourage you to rotate between those 2 internal movements of the come here and the small circles. This is just warming you up to what is possible. So remember to save this video for next time so you know what to come back to, and I hope you have a lot of pleasure. So now you've learned the 2 different types of pleasure, I want you to ask yourself the question, what experience do I want to have today versus how many times should I be doing this, okay? I like to suggest at least having 1 time with the external stimulation and one time with the internal stimulation. If you get more, that's a bonus. And if you also want to finish the internal stimulation with a bit of external, that's okay. But can you promise me you're going to start with the internal pleasure first? I know some days you might want a quick release and other days you might want slow, deep connection. And when you mix both together, your pleasure totally expands. Because the external pleasure is more of that fast, rapid pace, you can maybe get that in 5 minutes. But the internal pleasure takes time. At the end of this video, I'm going to link 7 different types of pleasure which you can experiment and play with so many different variations of internal pleasure. This is going to build curiosity in your body, and there's always a new movement that you can try as well. But what's really important for you to remember is when you're doing your internal types of pleasure, I do not want you to rush. I want you to go slow. And even if you think you're going slow, how slower can you go? This is because when we are rushing the movement, half the time we're not actually feeling anything. You want to be going slow and deep, like I'm going to teach you in this video at the end, or those 2 movements I just showed you there, because you're actually going to be feeling all the tissues that are inside this beautiful part of your body. You have the cervix, you have your G-spot inside of you. Like you can see on the diagram here, this is such a deep activation of pleasure. So when you're making this juicy time for yourself, I want you to be putting on the Sensual playlist. You can find that in the description below. I want you to light a candle. I want you to shut the door, dim the lights, and have this moment all for you. You're pleasuring yourself. You're romanticizing yourself, your body, and your life, and you completely deserve it. If you want this exercise to take 3 hours, you go and enjoy yourself, but 15 minutes really goes a long way. If you are someone who's a little bit, but Katie, I only did it for a minute and I don't know how to do it for 15 minutes, inside the School of Sensuality and Patreon, you will find a range of guided tutorials from 5 to 15 minutes and sometimes longer, where I guide you step by step on how to have those bigger orgasms, how to feel more internal pleasure, and how to actually give yourself 15 minutes just for you, without using your phone and without having any distractions, because your body wants it. I'll pop those in the links below and I'll see you inside. So now you know it's definitely more about the type of experience and the type of pleasure versus how many times a week. I do suggest 2, 1 of each. If you can do both, do more. I'm never going to say stop to pleasure. If you can only have 1 time of the week, that's okay. Maybe you want to start with a long pleasure first and then the external stimulation, because that's when you're going to reach that peak. That's when you're going to get over to that orgasm. So make sure you set it in your calendar. Don't forget, and I'll see you in the next video.